So hello, I hope your new year is going great so far. My name is Catherine for those of you who don't know me. I'm a student at USC studying music industry and public relations. I graduate in May, so it's coming up pretty quickly. And that's especially why I need to be on top of my schedule right now because there's a lot happening in the next couple months. Before I forget, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to this channel, all of those fun buttons. If you want to check out any more of my content, obviously I'm here on YouTube, but you can also find me on Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest. Classes haven't started back up again yet for the new year, so I wanted to put out another little organizational tool kind of video similar to the 23 habits for a better 2023 video that I put out last week. I often do get complimented for having a very aesthetic and well put together calendar, you know, not to toot my own horn or anything. I think it looks great. It definitely helps me stay on top of things, and I think it's also really great for my productivity. Granted, I still have a long ways to go. It may not work for everyone, but if you're trying to amp up your Google Calendar for the new year and be a lot more productive and on top of your schedule, then this is definitely the video for you. I've got my tea ready to go. I am settled in, so I am quite excited for this conversation. That's hot. Got my Google Calendar up here. It's a lot to look at. To be fair, this is just a template. I don't want to exactly show you guys my exact schedule because that could be, I don't know, that's putting a lot of information on the internet. So this is just a template I've made of what my calendar often looks like and the kinds of things that I have on it, just with some different times, I guess. And you can see that I've chosen a like sage green, pink, and beige kind of color scheme. Everyone has their own preferences, but this is something that I really like. My room's kind of like sage green and beige. I just like those colors together, and I think it's really calming to look at, even though there's a lot happening. I will say, okay. I think they're moving furniture upstairs. Bad timing, guys, but it's okay. I will preface this by saying that I like having a very busy calendar, not in terms of like what I'm doing, but I like it to look busy because I like feeling like I did a lot that day and I accomplished a lot. You can see that I have all my classes, my work, going out with friends, meal times, you know, getting ready. I like honestly filling up my entire day. I don't want there to be any white space at the end of the day, just because I like knowing how I used my time and how productive I was, and being able to see how I can be more productive or efficient the next day. So first off, the way that I would start tackling creating your own calendar to look like this is figuring out how many different types of calendars you want to have. So you can see on this side here, I have a bunch of different labels for all of the calendars. So personal is the just general calendar. Whenever I get invited to a meeting with someone, this is the one that it usually shows up on. It's just kind of my default for everything else. And so this is where I have, you can see like wake up, clean room, get ready, walk to class, like any of those like transportation things or grocery shopping. All of those kind of fall into this category because it's things that are like personal for me, I guess. Entertainment, just going down the list, that's like workout class, like a 30-minute run. The stretches that I try to do in the morning, I'm trying to be more flexible and like wake my body up in a very healthy, soothing way. And then I have homework. I am a college student still, so I have a lot of homework built in there. I will say that when I'm planning my calendar, I usually just leave in the things that are like set in stone, like classes or like my work schedule, and then everything else I'll kind of fill in throughout the day. And the night before, I'll sit down and look at my to-do list for the next day, put all of the items that I have to do onto my calendar and kind of move them around. Then I also have meals in this like beige color, I guess. You can budget off however much time you want for meals, but I usually just have like a little yogurt in the morning, so there's only 15 minutes. And then lunch and dinner, it gradually gets longer and longer as I have more cooking to do. And then professional, I like to have time to maybe work on my resume or set up like an informational interview or applying to jobs. I'm trying to do a lot more of that this year, so this was essential to have in my calendar as its own category. And then reminders and tasks are like automatically added by Google Calendar. One that I often have is a reminder to log my hours for my work or a reminder to pay my credit card bill. School, I have in this like basic sage green color. This is like my favorite color right now. I just have class for all of them right now, but I'll make sure to put in the location of the class, maybe my professor or any other information so that it all shows up on my calendar. If you're in high school, you can just block out the whole day while you're at school. Then social, and I have like example things that have been on my calendar before on here. So like coffee with friends, dinner with roomies. Usually I don't like plan this into my calendar a ton because I feel like my social time is a bit more spontaneous. You never know when it's gonna happen, but I just try to make sure that there's a healthy amount of it on my calendar in between all of the school and work and homework and everything. Work, I think, is self-explanatory, but this is what the current calendar looks like. So I have these 8 categories over here minus the reminders and tasks, and this is what I found works for me. Some people would want to have other things separate, and some feel like social and entertainment is kind of the same thing, and so they don't necessarily want to have two different colors for that, and that is totally good. You should find what categories work for you. And you don't even have to have categories. You can just make it look pretty if you want. But I feel like this helps me understand how I'm spending my time. You might hear my roommates in the background, but they are just catching up, so don't mind them. So let's move on to finding your color palette. So I'll often just look these up, find a palette that I enjoy. Oh, that's kind of cute. Let's say I want to do these colors for my calendar. I will use this digital color meter tool at the bottom of my screen. I think Macs just come with this. It's usually in your launchpad if you don't already have it like on your dock like this. You can find these RGB values of each of the colors. That will be your hex code that you'll put into the color palette generator, and that's what you use to keep track of all the colors and know what to input into Google Calendar. Let's open up the color palette generator. I use this website called Coolers, I think is how it's pronounced, or maybe it's just like colors. So you just click start the generator. It's totally free. You don't need to sign up or anything, even though there is a way to log in. It automatically comes with 5 colors, but I think you can go up to like 10. And also if you press spacebar, it'll start automatically like generating different palettes in case you don't necessarily know where you want to start. So if we look at this, it says 1539A3. So you go here and just type it in, and there's the exact color that you want. Okay, so you can see that I have all of the colors on the screen now. So you find a palette that has 6 colors and you actually want 7. You can click the plus in the middle and it'll find the color that's right in between them. But let's say that this is too close to the other color, and so maybe I want to just copy this one. You can click this little grid here that says view shades, and maybe you want like a lighter pink in the mix, and so you can add something like that. So you can really mess around with how many colors you want and how many different shades. What I would recommend once you found your exact color palette, let's say that I just want to keep it to these 6, then I'll click export and save it as a PDF, and this will just save it to your computer. You don't necessarily need to do this, but I like being able to have it so I can refer back to it in the future. This is what it'll look like. It'll have all of your colors saved right there with the hex codes. So once you have your palette, you're going to want to click on the hex code and copy it. So let's just say that instead of the work color, I want to switch it to the blue because I'm going to be changing my color palette for the calendar. So I scroll over it and click the 3 little dots, and then click the plus at the bottom and copy it in and click save, and that'll change your whole calendar to look like that. Also, you'll notice that whenever it's a darker color, the text is in white, but when it's a lighter color, the text is in black. I prefer it being the lighter color with text in black. I think it's a lot more soothing to look at for some reason, but I also make sure that I don't have a green that's too dark to where it switches over to white text, because I don't like having the 2 on the same screen. That's also totally a personal preference. You don't have to do that, but I just think it makes it look nicer and more cohesive between the different events on your calendar. And so what I would want to do is keep bringing in these colors, keep clicking copy, then maybe I change my homework to the lighter blue, click save, and you can see how it's starting to fill out the calendar. You can kind of see the difference in the colors. Now it obviously doesn't look quite as aesthetic, but you can get the idea of how I'm going to be like switching all these colors. All right, now we're back to normal. So to start off, if you want to make a new calendar, the way that you would do this is clicking on the little like settings menu at the top with the gear. I'll also highlight a few other features in here while I'm here. Because my boyfriend is in the UK, I like having the UK time zone listed on my calendar just so I can see what time it is for him. So you click the display secondary time zone and select which one you want to have. And you can add labels, so I have LA and UK. Some people like this feature also where it's reduced the brightness of past events so that as you go through your day, you can see where you're at in the day, because it'll show everything else kind of in a faded color of what it is. I don't like this as much because it makes my already chaotic looking calendar even more chaotic with the different shades. And you can also have view calendars side by side in day view. I definitely encourage just going through a bunch of the different settings here. There's a lot to explore, but moving on, you can see the add calendar button on the side. So you just click this and click create new calendar. You can also subscribe to calendars if you're wanting to like follow a friend's calendar and see what they're up to. I don't know, like my a cappella group has its own calendar, so I was able to subscribe to that. Or you can browse calendars of interest and you can subscribe to calendars for the different sports teams. They also have phases of the moon if anyone wants that on their calendar. So there's definitely a lot of options there. Let's say I wanted to do like coffee chats as a calendar, but you can create the calendar and then just click on like the little back button, and now you'll see that it shows up in the side here. Now going to adding events, you can drag however long you want and make it as short as 15 minutes. So let's say that, you know, from 9 to 9:45, I wanted to have like a little coffee chat. I will go here and click on personal because that's the default calendar that it likes to assign things to. And you'll switch it to coffee chats, and you can see that it automatically changes to the event color of that calendar. I don't usually mess with anything anything else down here, but if you wanted to add notifications, you can. You can also add a location, and you can add guests if you're inviting someone. But the main thing that I do a lot of is going into here and creating repeated events. I wouldn't necessarily do this for a coffee chat, but this is really helpful for a work schedule that repeats every single week or different classes. What I often do is go into custom, and you can select what days of the week that you want it to happen on, and you can choose for it to end after a certain amount of occurrences, or you can have it end on a certain date. And so I'll do this for all of my events for the semester. I know kind of what the last day of classes is, and so I'll type that in there, and that way you can already see on my calendar where all of the events stop. You can also go through and do this later. Let's say that after the first 2 times of coffee with Claire, I don't want that to keep happening because we've already had enough coffee for the week. I don't know, maybe we want to switch to smoothies instead. So I'll go into here and click delete, and you can either choose to delete just this event, this and all of the following events, or all of the events that have ever happened. Usually I'm just wanting to delete this and all of the following events so that it doesn't keep happening. And we're back to normal once again. I forgot about my tea. Moving on to general calendar organization tips that I have. The first thing is to really just make sure that you structure your calendar in a way that works for you. So I often do allow myself 15 minutes in the morning to wake up because I am not hopping out of bed after the first alarm. I don't know who does. They are freaks of nature in the nicest way possible. And you can see that class and work are things that are kind of set in stone, but I try to kind of maybe break them up with coffee with friends in here. That's just because I know I can't go through the whole day without having something fun in between. And so usually a lot of these white spaces I will fill with like TikTok scrolling or something that I just enjoy as kind of a way to decompress and take a break from classes and work and doing homework, all of that fun stuff. I did also see someone else say that it's really helpful to maybe add professors' office hours into your calendar. I've never done this before. I keep track of that on Notion actually, which if you ever want a Notion tour, let me know. So I usually have my classes with the professor's office hours next to it and also their email in case I ever want to contact them. But it could be nice to maybe have a separate calendar just for office hours because maybe you don't want to view it in your everyday calendar, but you want to be able to see when they're usually available. And then something else I will say is that it is good to have little white spaces in here kind of throughout the day for buffer time because I am a really bad judge of time. And this is why this calendar is so important to me and why it's so necessary in my life. I'm just horrible with time management. It's really bad. And the last thing that I will mention is that on this work-life balance calculator, you can see that I have like 7.4 hours per day for work for others, 12.6 for myself, and then 3.5 that are fun. So I guess that's also for myself. I did read somewhere that Denmark is the happiest country in the world, or they have like the best work-life balance or something like that. Like they're just happy people there. It's because they spend a lot more time on themselves than they do working for others. And so something that I try to do is maximize on this time that's work on me and for fun and limit how much extra time that I have to do work for others. I mean, that's always the goal. So it's really important to kind of keep track of how these are balancing out in this work-life balance calculator, I guess. Like when you look at this calendar, it does look like a lot of green. So that tells me that I'm doing too much work for others. And so maybe if I feel like I'm caught up enough on homework, I'll delete this and try to add in a bit more pink or beige. That's why I like having the colors for different kinds of work, whether it's on myself or for others, is because it really helps me understand what I need more of in my day. But I think that's it for my little Google Calendar tour and tutorial on how to make it aesthetic and also productive and help you with your work-life balance. I've left the hex codes of my personal calendar in the description in case you want to use those for yourself. I'm happy to answer any questions about this. I get really passionate about it. I don't know why. I don't know what has possessed me to get so into calendars and lists, but they are a big part of my life now apparently. And let me know if you want anything else that's kind of organizational like this. I hope you learned a lot in this video, and I hope you're able to create an aesthetic calendar color palette that you really enjoy. Especially keep an eye out for more USC content. As the semester starts, I'm definitely going to be rolling out a lot more of college content, and I cannot wait. And I will see you guys next time. Bye!